Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host. He'll tell you why there are so many songs about rainbows. He's moving right along. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy being Robert Winfree. Yay!
I don't know why you went with the Muppets this time around, but okay.
You would be surprised
that was incredibly fitting, considering you always go for that Kermit style. Yay! That was like the most appropriate, I think it's ever been.
Well, I was going to try to jam a bunch of Quentin Tarantino titles in there, but I kept coming up with stuff like, he'll let you pet his Reservoir Dogs and read you some of his Pulp Fiction. He's Robert Winfree Unchained. And I'm like, nah, I had the Muppets on the mind, so that's what I ran with.
Thank
you.
You
made the right choice.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not even a dad level pun. That is beyond painful, okay? You would have heard a gunshot, and then I would have been, like, off the shot.
Well, all right, take three. We're starting over again. Take over, pal.
No. Okay. Well, on the back of at least one good decision that Mark has made this evening. Hello, everyone. This is Damn You Hollywood. I am Robert Winfree. You heard Mark introduce me. You've already heard Alexis Hejna. And we're all here today to talk about Quentin Tarantino's latest movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Hollywood if she could, baby. Woo!
Okay, then.
Mark, you were ahead. Don't ruin it.
He's not anymore.
Okay, never mind. Redacted.
All right. I don't even know really where to start with this.
How about a plot synopsis?
You want to just go into the plot synopsis?
No,
right,
we should talk about our favorite, our most to least favorite Quentin Tarantino movies, then do a plot synopsis.
I mean, that's normally on brand for us. That's why I'm surprised that we're sticking to the script.
Isn't that the way every review so far of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has started? People summing up their least and most favorite Tarantino. I think that's like law now. That's what you have to start the review with.
Okay, well, no. Then we absolutely cannot do it. We must run contrary to the popular methodology. That's a big part of what we do here. So
then hang on. Then I have a way to start this podcast that's going to be like none other that you've heard before. My wife, Melissa Radulich, Esquire, the third, has never seen a Quentin Tarantino movie before. I dragged her, kicking and screaming,
really,
to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where I had to trick her. I had to tell her, hey, it's about late 60s Hollywood, and Margot Robbie's in it, and she plays Sharon Tate in Fancy Boots. And my wife went, I like late 60s Hollywood. I like Fancy Boots. I'll go see this. It can't possibly be that bad. And she's like, I just don't like that Quentin Tarantino movies end so bloody. And it's just not my thing. And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. It's a love letter to the 60s era Hollywood. It's not going to be a lot of blood. You'll be fine.
You're not wrong in that it's both a love letter to the 60s Hollywood and is light on blood.
Yes.
Yeah, until the last scene.
Well, I was going to say, this is probably... Look, this was no Kill Bill. This was no Death Proof. This was light on blood as Quentin Tarantino movies go.
Extremely.
Let me sum it up this way. At just shy of the 3-hour mark, right before the penultimate scene of the Manson family going to kill the Daltons and such, she elbowed me and said, I don't know what it is we've been watching. Where is this movie going? And the person next to her had been on her cell phone the entire time. That's where we are, folks. That was my viewing experience with this movie.
Alrighty then. So your plot synopsis for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I do have to preface this. I said this when we talked about Hateful Eight last year, or 2 years ago, whenever it came out. A mere plot synopsis doesn't really do a Tarantino film proper justice. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of stuff that just kind of gets lost in if all you do is read it, you won't understand the appeal or the magic or what makes it work or what makes it not work, as the case may be. So, fair warning, I'm going to tell you, a rough recitation of the events is not as, it just doesn't serve the same purpose. So
Will you
I'm
also
going to do
tell
it
us
anyway.
how many songs there are about rainbows and what's on the other side?
A lot.
Gonna say maybe we should just tell it like very straightforward without a lot of the flashbacks or midway cuts or such.
I'm going to kind of do what I can.
I would say, unfortunately, by my method, we have to cut out the scene where we talk about Bruce Lee. So,
well, I was going to say, like, I was like, I'm not the one that does the plot synopsis for this, but I was trying to figure out, like, it's kind of like doing a plot synopsis for Pulp Fiction. Like, how do you even begin to approach something like that? I read it from the wiki. If you go by the wiki, it's pretty straightforward. And then we can kind of double back and talk about some of the other things that are thrown in there, like the Bruce Lee flashback.
Yeah, we can. There's a few scenes that we're going to get into more specifically, but as far as just again, what happens on film, where the movie primarily follows a fading film star by the name of Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and his stuntman, played by Brad Pitt. Their relationship is modeled off of a documented relationship between Burt Reynolds and one of his stuntmen. For those who keep track of random crap like that. Dalton's a little bit on the fade. In fact, our first scene with him, he's told by Al Pacino, you know, you've got two options. You can be a punching bag for the up-and-coming generation of network stars, or we can go to Italy and you can make spaghetti westerns. And his response to this news is basically what Marx is slightly more emotional than Marx was to I have cancer.
you know, you gotta love it. Say what you will about Leonardo DiCaprio, whether you love him or hate him, but no one is as much fun when he overacts as Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's probably true. I'd really have to think about who might be in contention for that crown, and I don't know who I would throw up there. So he's not sure what to do. He's really depressed about his career being over because, if I might quote him, nobody likes spaghetti westerns.
Clint Eastwood fans are mourning.
Not just Clint Eastwood fans, a lot of just Western fans in general. Spaghetti westerns are a lot of fun. We also see a few of these events happen concurrently. We see the arrival of Sharon Tate and her husband Roman Polanski, who move in next door to where Dalton is currently living in Los Angeles. And they do stupid Hollywood stuff. I'm not really going to mention them again. There's just a lot of stupid Hollywood stuff that they do that really only makes sense if you're deep into the lore of Los Angeles. And my relationship with the lore of Los Angeles begins and ends basically with the lizard people who live under the city. Which is a long-standing rumor about things. It is a long-standing urban legend about the city.
I actually lived in LA for a bit. Didn't encounter lizardmen.
I lived in LA also. I was trying to break into screenwriting. And I did encounter lizard people. They were mostly prostitutes.
And you know...
Or Scientologists.
Or producers.
Yeah, no, serious story here, guys. The minute I got off the plane in LA, went to the hostel that I was staying at, which was right off of Hollywood Boulevard. I spent like 2 months living behind Grauman's Chinese Theater. I decided to go for a walk, and the first person I encountered was a Scientologist asking if I wanted to take a personality test.
Yeah, those people doing the personality test thing are everywhere.
I imagine the second was someone trying to sell you crack.
I'll tell you.
Not quite.
I'll tell you, Man's Chinese Theater is definitely lost.
Though.
I'm guessing this was somewhere in the 90s, 2000s, somewhere in that period.
Would have been 2000, either 2001 or 2000. Oh no, it would have been like 2005, I think.
Yeah. By that point, I was back in New York.
I graduated from college.
Yeah, by that point, I was back in New York, but I was there between 98 and 2001. And yeah, Grauman's Chinese Theater had definitely lost its allure.
It lost its allure 3 weeks after it opened.
All right, move on.
So anyway, we follow a little bit of some quasi misadventures here. Rick Dalton is taking bit parts, like featured villain of the week for various network shows and getting beaten up. His stunt double Cliff, again played by Brad Pitt, who I now at this point in time, given how he looks, struggled not to call him Robert Redford.
Oh my God! I was thinking
freaky.
the same thing.
It is freaky. He is having trouble getting work, not just because Rick Dalton is struggling to get work, but he beat up Bruce Lee and has subsequently very nearly been blackballed from, doing all the physical acting.
Well, then he killed his wife.
Rumor has it.
Yeah, supposedly. We never actually see it.
They set up a position that makes it look like, yeah, he did it, but they don't actually confirm.
But that is the prevailing myth surrounding him, and further worsening his career is that he killed his wife.
Yeah, that he killed his wife and got away with it. He encounters a few different times a member of the Manson family, hippie, who he eventually winds up giving a ride out to their compound, which is at a ranch that they used to shoot the Western series that primarily made Rick Dalton famous at, and he just wants to make sure the guy who actually owns the place isn't being screwed over. Not as such, and he winds up abusing one of their members because they're hippies and deserve it.
Well,
And the
that
guy-
get flat tire.
Yeah, that.
I don't care. It was a hippie. If you go to a hippie compound and don't punch a hippie, you have failed at life.
I love your plot synopsises. Listen, I'm not going to give you a lot of details. I'm just going to shit on things I didn't like in the order that they happened.
So anyway, he winds up leaving that freaky cult behind, kind of like, all right, well, that was an experience. As Rick Dalton has finally a good day on set, he doesn't open well. He forgets a couple of lines. He has a very emotional breakdown in his trailer. And frankly, the scene that I related to the most, when he stares himself intently in the mirror and goes, "So help me God, if you don't get this right next time, I'm going to blow your brains out." And they'll just be floating in your pool when they find your body in a week.
It should also be noted here that at some point Charles Manson does come up to Sharon Tate's house looking for someone else. They are not there because they are no longer living there. And this will pay off later in the film. Please continue.
Okay, yeah, they hire somebody to walk around as Charles Manson and give dialogue that's loosely audible over some distance.
Yeah, we never actually see Manson that closely. He always is either off to the side or he's got his hair in his face. You don't get a really close look at him.
Yeah, he knew who apparently used to live there, a record producer, Terry something or other, and they just moved out, and now he's without whatever that was going to give him beneficially. Who knows? It's weird.
How much do we really, just honest question so this doesn't come up again, how much do the three of us really know about the Manson murders?
Next to nothing.
Not as much as I used to. I wrote a fairly detailed report at one point for a school project, but it's been many years.
I read the Wikipedia pages about them after the movie because I was curious. So, there is a lot of parallels, and we'll get to the ending later. But there is some pretty accurate representation.
Yeah,
he
seemed to have gone out of his way to make elements of this as about as realistic as they're going to get, kind of thing.
All right, back to the plot synopsis, because I want to talk about this stuff, but I want to get this part of the podcast done with.
Yeah. So, Rick Dalton, now feeling slightly better about himself, gets an offer to star in a spaghetti western after around the same time an episode of, what was it, FBI that he was guest starring on airs, and so he and Cliff spend 6 months in Rome making a few different Italian movies. He gets married, they drive back, but at this point he goes, buddy, I can't afford you anymore. We have to come to a parting of the ways. They decide to have one last let's get drunk together kind of thing. Cliff also smokes a cigarette soaked in acid. This would be LSD, not a form of caustic chemical.
Okay, I know we're white, but how white do you think we are?
That was for my benefit.
Yeah,
because really, depending on the depending on the acid you soak it in, if you were to soak a cigarette in various forms of acid, it wouldn't actually dissolve. It would just kind of absorb and dehydrate. So then
99.9% of the human beings who saw this film knew they were talking about LSD. Okay, you're the only one that questioned it there, white boy.
All right. Look, I don't know who listens to our show. All right, I find it helps to be a little bit more literal on occasion.
Mostly drug addicts. Go on.
Oh God.
It's nice to know you. It's nice to know you pimp our podcast in your place of business. So he decides to smoke that. Around this time again, the four members of the Manson family, who in actuality committed the Tate murders, which were a very famous mass murder incident in Los Angeles. They are somewhat sidetracked because as they are idling in their terrible hippie car, Rick Dalton, mostly drunk, sees them, and in one of my favorite bits from this movie, looks out, sees them, and goes, "Bunch of goddamn fucking hippies." He goes out, he berates them, he gets them to turn around, but they are off-put by this. So instead of doing what they were told to do, which was to go to the residence now occupied at the moment by Sharon Tate and three of her friends, they decide to go kill Rick Dalton because A, he hassled them, and B, they kind of have a bit of a like some stupid stoner logic. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah, something to the effect of on TV there was nothing but murder, and this guy was in a TV show that perpetuated murder, so he's responsible for the violence in the world. Something like that. Yeah,
it's something like that. Again, stupid stoner logic.
Logically, if you follow like a logic equation, it actually follows.
Look, if you follow a stupid logic flow like that, there's a lot worse places it goes to.
Okay, yeah, we all took philosophy 101 in college. Move along.
So they instead of attacking the Tate residence, wind up attacking the Dalton residence, but they run into Cliff first and foremost, and Cliff, a little bit high, actually initially goes, "Are you guys real?" Just for my own edification. He's able to throw them. He has his dog attack one of them. He beats the crap out of one, then the other, then the others. The dog attacks a few different targets. He violently murders two of them, and it's great. The last one winds up in the pool where Rick has been kind of blissfully listening to music on his 70s era headphones. He gets freaked out by the crazy person with a smashed up face wielding a knife at him, goes to his tool shed to retrieve a flamethrower that he stole from the set of a movie he starred in, and proceeds to barbecue this woman as she's waist deep in his pool. The cops show up, they give their statement. Cliff winds up in the hospital after being stabbed in the hip. And Rick winds up going over to where Polanski is, because his neighbors, in a show of humanity that does not actually exist and has never existed within the city of Los Angeles, cared about what took place next door. Invites them over, and they get so he goes in and has some drinks with them because, an 8.5-month pregnant woman downing margaritas will, I'm sure, have no negative consequences. Which is where we wind up rolling credits, just moving now into an alternate version of history where the Manson family murders never took place. All right, that's okay. That's your rough recitation there of the events as they transpire. Where did we really kind of want to start with this?
Right, let me jump up here. I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan. From way back to the Reservoir Dog days.
There's a crossover movie we need. Reservoir Dog Day Afternoon.
I've also seen Dog Day Afternoon. Back when movies, back when you had to have an attention span to watch a movie. Like a lot of people, the first time I heard of Quentin Tarantino was Pulp Fiction. I was in college at the time. I was actually a freshman. I was one of the people who saw Pulp Fiction 100 times in the movie theaters. Like, my friends and I would have nothing to do after work or after class or whatever. Let's just go see Pulp Fiction again. So we were the guys back in the 90s, who saw Avengers Endgame 200 times. Yeah, we did that with Pulp Fiction. But because of that, I started developing a real serious interest in film. But I also kind of went through what I could find on Quentin Tarantino, whatever else he was involved with. So I found Reservoir Dogs, watched that, me and my friends watched it a million times, started referring to ourselves as Mr. Blonde or Mr. Blue or whatever. Just absolutely fell in love with that movie. Watched True Romance because Quentin Tarantino was at least, somehow involved with that picture, at least at one point. Saw the follow-up, Jackie Brown, which we'll be talking about this week on Trial. I'm a huge fan. I've seen every one of his movies. He's one of the few exceptions I make for Damn You Hollywood, where it's we're focusing on big budget, summer type. The season no longer matters. Big franchise, big blockbuster type movies. He's the one exception I'll make where it doesn't matter how much his films make. We'll always talk about him because I just love the guy so much. We talked about The Hateful Eight when that came out, and at the time we had a fairly lengthy discussion over if you either enjoy Quentin Tarantino or you don't. The man has a very distinct style. He's one of the few directors out there that really do test your patience for the golden age of film viewing. And if you're and that's why I like going with someone who, like my wife, who her idea of a solid picture is an Adam Sandler comedy and is looking forward to Downton Abbey. So that's what I'm.
You just insulted your wife.
How? Those are the two things that she enjoys at the movies: Adam Sandler movies and Downton Abbey. She's looking forward to. So I like going with someone like her because I want to, because when you're a film person and you watch a Quentin Tarantino film, there's things about his movies that become very, very clear: the editing, the pacing, the tension, which all work very well in this movie. It's all on par with some of his, especially his later works. The violent explosion of violence at the end. It's a bit redundant. How does this work for somebody who isn't a Tarantino person, isn't really a film person, and doesn't really have the patience for this sort of thing? The answer is not well. As for what I thought of it, I enjoy love letters. I like a love letter to a genre, to a setting, to an era. I especially enjoy, personally, the golden age of Hollywood. Less so now than I did back in my 20s and early 30s. But that's what he was going for. I think I thought there'd be more Manson stuff in this, but there really is just the one scene of Brad Pitt walking onto Spawn Ranch and then the ending. So the other thing which I did not realize until the movie ended was this is in the what if style of Tarantino films. This is the same thing as Inglourious Bastards. What if they killed Hitler? Well, what if the Manson murders didn't happen? Which, again, I didn't do a tremendous amount of research going into it, so I thought there'd be more Manson stuff, and I actually thought that this was going to show the Manson murders and not be a what if scenario. But that doesn't mean the film was bad, nor that I didn't like it. Couldn't be further from the truth. Quentin Tarantino's movies are definitely held up by performances first. These things are presented almost like stage plays, and I would say he generally gets good, solid actors who give engaging performances. Pretty. I mean, he also has a group of actors that he's pretty used to working with. Brad Pitt's been in previous ones. He's worked with Leonardo DiCaprio on Django Unchained. So
he initially wanted DiCaprio for Inglourious Bastards. I think the part of the original plan was for DiCaprio to play Hans Landa in that movie, which thankfully did not. I say thankfully didn't happen, not because DiCaprio's bad, but because Christoph Waltz is
amazing.
Yeah,
there is no one else who could have done that role. No one.
Agreed.
Samuel L. Jackson's been in like almost all his films. Harvey Keitel's been in a bunch.
Kurt Russell's been in several of them now.
Yeah.
He had a cameo from Zoe Bell, of course.
He's one of the few directors in Hollywood who, I was reading actually about this in the Wikipedia for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where like he kind of comes with a list of demands, but they're so eager for his films, where even if they don't make shit tons of money, are huge award winners. They're prestige films, which is weird because they usually end in an orgy of violence, but that's okay. What did I like? What did I think of the film? I thought it was engaging. I enjoyed the setting. I thought the performances were solid and engaging. I love Quentin Tarantino's use of building tension. I kind of, when I was talking about this with my wife, I kind of compared it to like being in the wraps of a boa constrictor. You know, it's just, you know, it wraps and, you know, it constricts and then it lets go and it constricts again and lets go and then finally, boom, you're dead. There's just so much building of tension throughout this 3-hour picture that by the time you get to the end and everything's just getting murderized around you, it is a big giant release. I mean, there was laughter in the theater during that, which I think is to a degree what he's going for. You know, the violence is way over the top. I mean, it's not Kill Bill levels, but it's still, you know, a woman takes a can to the face. There's this stuff with the dog that just goes on forever. And being flame thrown in a pool is, I don't care what you say, it's hilarious to me.
Yes, if you didn't laugh when Dalton comes out with the flamethrower that they talked about from the beginning, you have no soul.
Right. So,
I didn't laugh at that. I did laugh when he's talking with Jay Sebring after that, and he goes, and thank God I got a flamethrower in my tool shed. Like, you know what? Good on you, man.
Yep.
I now want one.
So, I mean, was it my favorite Tarantino picture? No. I'd have to really give it some thought to see if it's in my top 5. I know Reservoir Dogs is probably still my number 1 favorite. Django Unchained, Inglourious Bastards, they're all up there for me. I think Jackie Brown's in there. But it's a solid outing from Quentin Tarantino, and as usual, I'm excited to see what genre he's going to deconstruct next. Alexis?
I remember the first thing I thought when I walked out of that film and turned to my husband and I said, okay, can we go check that I make sure nobody reanimated Bruce Lee? Because, wow.
This is the most accurate representation of Bruce Lee you're going to find on film.
Not according to his daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. His daughter is deeply invested in the financial viability of his hagiography. Who'd have thought?
Well, it killed me because when I saw that, one of the things, that article that I sent about how his daughter was pissed off, one of the things that she pointed out, she said she didn't like people laughing at her father's portrayal. And when I saw the movie, people were laughing, but first of all, they were laughing at how every time Bruce Lee struck a pose, he went, "Hoo-ah!" And I'm like, okay, these people who are laughing have clearly never watched Bruce Lee movies because he always did that.
Yeah,
right.
That was a thing.
Yeah. And I would admit I was laughing too, but I wasn't laughing at, oh, this is so stupid. I was laughing because I was blown away by the actor's performance. Even the look. I swear, if he didn't take the glasses off, you would swear it was just Bruce Lee. He looks so much like him. I thought it was great. And I understand why some people are saying they're not too crazy about this film. It does have a very different style of filming. It's a little bit more of a callback to Tarantino's way that he made Pulp Fiction, and not so much his most recent films, which have more of a, I would say, concurrent storyline.
Yeah, this is a
little bit more.
This is a bit more meandering. I would say, this is very close to The Hateful Eight in terms of meandering and not. I mean, it's. The Hateful Eight had moments of action where the plot moved forward. This really doesn't.
And I remember talking to my mom. The day after I saw the movie, I went to go see my folks, and my mom said they were going to go see it, and she asked if I liked it. And I was trying to explain to her the difference in this between Tarantino's past films, and she's like, okay, I don't care. Is it good or not? I'm just like, Well, you don't get to just say it's good with a Tarantino film. That's
You
not
really
the way
don't.
it works.
This isn't, your average large-scale release when, oh, it's crap or, oh, it's good. Matter, because, like, sure, it's good, it's a Tarantino movie. They're all well made, by and large, but that really doesn't convey kind of the actual relevant points about the movie.
I know, and some people are not going to like that style of filmmaking. I know they're not. And that's what I was trying to get across to my mom. It's that it's a very distinct style of filmmaking. And if you don't like that style, you're not going to like this movie. That's not to say this movie is bad. Far from it. But I know some people just don't get that style. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's a little bit wrong with that. Especially if you can't actually acknowledge that that's your issue with it rather than some fault with the product.
So let me ask you, Alexis, against, let's say, his last couple of films, Hateful Eight, Django Unchained, Inglourious Bastards, how did this measure up in terms of, I think the three things you can come to expect from a Tarantino film, where as long as these three pillars are intact and solid, you have a solid feature: performance, tension, setting.
Oh, all three of those, he knocks them out of the park.
You think it's better than the last couple?
It's hard for me to say because I really did enjoy those last three movies, but what I think I enjoyed more about Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards was having a core antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we talked about Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards. That performance will never be replicated. That was just one of the most amazing things I think anyone's ever seen in film, ever.
Yeah.
And I know that just sounds like I'm just worshiping the ground Christoph Waltz's feet, but I am still blown away by how awesome his performance is.
No, that performance made that guy, because it's that one where all of a sudden he was casted in everything after that.
Yes. The man is a brilliant actor. And again, even Django Unchained, we have Leonardo DiCaprio's Calvin Candy chewing the scenery like there is no tomorrow.
In all the best ways.
I know. That's what I said. It's that he is overacting so much, but no one is better at it.
Yeah.
It's like we want to see Leonardo DiCaprio go abso-fucking-lutely insane.
And I would say The Hateful Eight was just loaded with antagonists. It's just everyone antagonizing everybody.
I'll give you that.
And you're right. I think this movie does, to a degree, suffer from there not being a central antagonist. There's stuff happening. There are hurdles that the individual actors are dealing with, but it's almost like a slice of life kind of a thing up until the very, very, very end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which, does that work for you, or did you struggle with it?
I did enjoy it. Again, I will still probably say that Inglourious Bastards is my all-time favorite Tarantino film. But there was nothing about this movie I disliked. I greatly enjoyed it. It's very similar to watching Pulp Fiction. Regardless of whether or not you really get into the story, you can't help but marvel at the craft and just the level of detail that goes into it. I mean, hell, we even get that awesome long take that Tarantino is so famous for with the scene between Brad Pitt and the actor playing Bruce Lee. Did you guys notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Because we always know to look for that. And not gonna lie, I freaking died at that little mid-credit scene with the red apple cigarettes. Because I was one of the things Tarantino's known for is he's made his own brands because he doesn't want to pay product placement. So Red Apple cigarettes has appeared in almost every film. I could be wrong, but I can't remember if it's Django Unchained or Inglourious Bastards. But someone puts together a cigarette and they have a bag of tobacco and it's got the Red Apple logo on the bag of tobacco.
That would have been Django.
Probably. And just a little homage to the fact that, to the Red Apple cigarettes. Again, I died. I thought that was so funny. Especially when you get Dalton at the end just spitting out there like, this tobacco tastes like crap. Oh my God, I love that.
Do you think this was the right movie for 2019? That might sound like an odd question, but hear me out on this. The top grossing movies this year were comic books and Disney Renaissance remakes, and I think that's about it. That's about it. And yet here, in the midst of all that, I mean, this is... Now, look, there's plenty of indie films that get released still. But
Not that we get to talk about.
But these are prestige pictures. They're awards bait in many cases. I think they're also cheap enough to produce that they're not really taking a tremendous amount of risk on these. They all make a decent amount of money for the most part. Because you can't just put out Avengers films. You just can't. But that does bring the question on, in a world where we have the long tail of niche television watching, where the event show is starting to become a dying breed, and we have the event picture, Avengers. Is this the kind? Does this movie, after the first week, find an audience? Because I think Quentin Tarantino's kind of like the WWE. He's a brand in and of himself, and no matter what he does, people will come and see him because he is a successful brand. But after word gets out about this picture, and there's no antagonist, and it goes for 3 hours, and people are sort of befuddled. Like, we're all okay with it, but we're film people. But there are more people like my wife and the gal sitting next to her than there are us. So the question I put to
our
you...
detriment.
So the question I put to you is this the right film to make in 2019, or was this a huge, probably going to end up being a disappointing risk?
If it doesn't come out now, when's it going to come out? The trends that we see in the movies, they're going to change, but they're not going to die. I don't think that we are ever going to have a time period where a film like Tarantino's movies are going to be what's it. And I'm saying it with big air quotes.
Right.
It doesn't fit in with what's current, but Tarantino has never fit in with what's current. His movies have always stood out, and that's one of the things I love about him. You go to a Tarantino film, you're seeing a Tarantino film. We were just talking last week about the Lion King remake and how much control we felt that the studio held over Favreau's directing style. That is not something you get with Tarantino. It is his movie. It is his baby. He has complete creative control, and you know it.
He's one of the few. He's one of the few that's kind of given a blank canvas and a check and going, give us back something we can at least minimally market.
Yeah. He is one of the few directors that you walk out of the theater and you do not feel, well, that part was forced in by the studio, or, oh, that was created by a focus group. You don't get that. No,
this isn't Studio Notes, the movie.
Yeah.
We've already seen that in the 5 sequels.
Yeah, there's no ex-women moment. I told you that I'm making that a thing. So, you talk about whether or not it really would work in this year with what else is coming out. It's not going to fit in with these movies. It's not going to fit in with the films of 2020, 2021, 22, 23. I don't know what those trends are going to be, but I know they're not going to be Tarantino style. So, regardless of whether or not it fits in, I say release it. It's never going to be an easy route for him, and I think that's one of the reasons we appreciate his film style so much.
The comparison I made to my wife as we were driving home, and she was still asking me, I don't understand what we just watched. I said, it was the 3-hour version of Death Proof. And she went, okay, I've never seen that. I'm like, I know, but let me explain. Have you seen Death Proof?
Death Proof at least has Kurt Russell's stuntman Mike going for it.
My mom explained about how long Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was, and I just wrote back, okay, seriously, you have sat through a Tarantino film, right? He doesn't make short films. The shortest thing he ever made was his segment in 4 Rooms.
I was going to say Death Proof is about 90 minutes, isn't it?
Because it was released with Planetary, it's kind of hard to say. Because those were meant to be... Yeah, those films were meant to be released together.
Right, but I mean, but I've never seen Planetary,
you should. I say this unironically. That's a movie you would enjoy. It's really, really stupid.
But I mean, when they were doing the Grindhouse thing, I was like, I'm just interested in the Quentin Tarantino side. I wasn't interested in the Robert Rodriguez side. So Death Proof.
Well, don't forget, Death Proof was also released as its own DVD with additional scenes.
Yes. So I think when I saw it, this is almost 2 hours. Holy shit. But that one builds and builds and builds and builds until the final car bit. And I was trying to explain it to her. I was like, if you really want to understand kind of his style and where this movie is coming from, it's that. It's just this long, grinding, slow build to one thing. And you either like it or you don't. So I'm going to give you the last word here, Alexis, and then we'll move on to Robert and then the money.
Trying to think what else I really want to talk about. Sorry, I just got off of one hell of a soapbox there.
Welcome to podcasting.
Yeah, no kidding. I really need to have my speeches a little bit more pre-written, like I did with the Screaming Boy podcast on fandom.
No preparing. I want truth. I want angst.
Mark, you once sent me a genuine essay and said, "Hey, proofread this. I want to know if it works."
That was because I was in an argument with Gavin. It was important.
And then he didn't show up. Well, what we wound up doing was two podcasts that had differing points of view more than anything else.
Right. But I had to beat Gavin in an argument, so I had to make sure my thoughts were organized.
In fairness, I'm not sure you did. I agree with your perspective more than his, but if we're talking about the actual mechanics of debate.
All right. Since
are you two done?
Yeah. So if there's nothing else, anything else? Anything?
I did really enjoy the film. I did live out in LA for a little bit, less than a year. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, it sucks.
It's a bastion. I hated how phony. I mean, it's such a cliche.
Terrible city.
It's such a cliche to say, "Oh, everyone's so phony out there." No, it's not a cliche. It's the truth.
Yeah, everyone's kind of either phony or a lunatic, and I couldn't take it either.
Yeah, I lived in a hostel with a bunch of people who were trying to become actors. I was accosted daily by Scientologists and a guy dressed as Zorro who kept hoping that if he flirted with me enough, I'd eventually pay to have a picture taken with him. Again, I was right. I lived right by Grauman's Chinese Theater, so I couldn't walk to my internship without walking past everyone in costume.
Were you trying to get into graphic design out there? Were you trying to get into like CGI, something like that?
I was actually working for Acme Filmworks. It was an animation company.
Oh, okay.
It was right. It was on Sunset Boulevard.
I was, like I said, I went out there trying to write movies. I actually did connect with one guy, and I worked on writing 2 movies. But I was also distracted by professional wrestling, and that is a story for another podcast. Robert?
Thanks for that. Because nothing I'm going to do is going to top the potential intrigue of, and I mean, I know your history with professional wrestling, but...
Well, what I was just trying to say when I was talking about how much I hated is that regardless, I did feel that this was a really great love letter to Hollywood. I did enjoy it. It really it showed Hollywood in the last few years that town would be known for its glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
And I did enjoy that.
It also showed a significant portion of the cause of its decline. Friggin' hippies. Ruin everything.
Go.
All right. I think I'm more on the negative side than both of you when it comes to this movie in particular.
What a surprise!
I know. Look, I can only break what's expected of me so often. All right. I normally enjoy Tarantino movies. I'm with you, Alexis. I think Inglourious Basterds is my favorite of his bunch. I'd actually argue it's the best from a technical perspective. And it took me. I've been trying to figure out what it is about this movie that doesn't really work for me as well. And
The subject
there's a
matter?
couple of some of it, yeah, but Tarantino's movies are more. I think the only really way to enjoy Tarantino's films is to have a deep well of knowledge about the material he's covering.
I don't know. I don't.
Hang on, let me finish. And again, this is not to say you have to have a doctorate in the politics and reality of World War II to enjoy Inglourious Bastards or anything involved. That's not the case. But I think his movies are more engaging and more involving the more you understand the mechanics and not just the mechanics, but the more you understand the little stuff that he does, because he does it very deliberately. He has very specific radio stations playing in this movie in particular at different points in time. He chooses certain actors to be in certain roles. He chooses certain people to reference specifically, certain ones to have their names changed. He chooses specific locations. It's all done very deliberately because he has, again, so much personal film knowledge about all of these things. And the more you are engaged with it on that level, I think the more engaged you are with the film. So personally, the fact that I do not have a positive attachment to 1960s Hollywood doesn't lend me towards viewing it favorably from the beginning. This also, and this is one of those where I have a specific criticism, but I'm not sure how to remedy it. Like, one of the things we try to do is, here's a problem, here's how you could have made it better, rather than just pissing into the wind. This felt like a very indulgent movie on Tarantino's part.
You're not wrong.
And again, the thing about that is I'm not sure. He chose the right subject matter, and he chose the right style for that to make it feel like, again, he didn't try to be self-indulgent doing a movie where it doesn't fit. So again, he at least gets credit for that. But this felt like a very, very, again, I'm doing what I want to do. This is, and again, you get a little bit of that with all of his stuff, but...
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think the movie would have been better served had he not gone back to the Western well?
I don't know.
So, you know what I mean? Like, if
Yeah,
Rick,
I do. I know what you mean, and I'm not sure.
like if Rick Dalton had, same character, but he's doing B-movie sci-fi. He's doing drive-in movies at this point in his career instead of, and I'm not sure where I am on the in that part of Hollywood, what years those became a thing. But I mean, if the movie the movie that he's on set for, like, it's all the same stuff. He has the breakdown and everything. But if the setting changes from he's doing a Western to he's doing B sci-fi or
Flash Gordon style stuff.
Yeah. They
They should have had a scene where he turned down the script for Flash Gordon because it was so bad even he couldn't do it.
Shut up.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I actually purposely said Flash Gordon because I wanted a reaction.
Look at you stepping in as the setter in this volleyball team. But you see what I mean? Like I feel that's part of it, is that a lot of people might just be a little exhausted by now the third movie in a row where he goes to the Western well, even in a Hollywood setting. Like, try it, maybe a different color paint here.
I don't think it would have hurt for that to be some kind of alteration. I also don't think that there's two things about that. One is, if they're setting Rick Dalton as a character who was, on a television show in the 50s that was successful, your options there for as far as reality concerns goes are limited to, I Love Lucy or some other, or something like that, or a Western. That's kind of what was on TV.
Yeah, I'm fine with Bounty Law. What I'm saying is, when we see him now, what he's doing and then the long set piece of him being in this other thing. I think it's called Lancer.
Yeah.
Maybe Lancer needed to not be a Western.
Nice little last bit with Luke Perry.
I think you could have kept all the same beats and the same actors. You're just changing the material they're working with.
I can see the point there. I don't know. I suppose the reason I don't think that would be, and again, it might have helped. I'm also not sure how the degree to which it would have helped, because that whole sequence is, unless we're talking purely visual aesthetics, it's about what Rick Dalton is going through. The fact that he's on set for a Western is utterly immaterial.
Right, but I get flashbacks are bounty law. The set he's on is a Western. Where Brad Pitt goes and spends time with the Manson family, which you can't change, is an old Western ranch. The only times you get a real sharp change of scenery is when you're in Dalton's home.
Or actually, downtown Los Angeles.
Or you're in downtown Los Angeles, which reminds me.
Tate.
I was going to say, we need to talk about Sharon Tate for just a minute here, but I'll let you continue. But what I'm saying is, I think that... And I wanted to get your opinion on this because you started to go into it, and I was like, well, let's make this a little bit more sharp and more directed. I feel like you're getting the same aesthetic we've already seen out of Tarantino when there were opportunities to do it a little bit differently, so at least you're getting a different color palette.
I imagine it wouldn't have hurt at all for him to have gone in a little bit different direction with that. And the degree to which it would have helped or would have hurt, we'll never know. But I think it was an option that maybe could have been explored, for sure. Although
I enjoyed it enough. You're absolutely right, Mark, that it is now officially his third film dealing with Westerns. But it's done well enough. I honestly didn't mind. And I'm going to add Timothy Olyphant, who plays Dalton's co-star on Lancer. I want to see him in a legit Western.
Look, Timothy Olyphant just needs more work generally.
Well, what else didn't you like?
I'm not an impatient person, and when I say that this is a long movie, and this is kind of what kills me about this movie in particular, because I'm sitting here, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And as I'm walking out of that movie going, oh boy, that was long. Not bad, but long. Could it have been trimmed? And yes, there are places it could have been trimmed. I'm 90% sure of it. But I also am not entirely sure how you would substantively cut, 30 minutes out of that movie.
So let me ask you a question about that point. Does your opinion on the length of the movie change if Dalton, Brad Pitt's character, and Francesca, I think her name is, the Italian wife, they all actually get killed?
I don't know. I don't think the climax has any real impact on my feeling about the length of the movie, because again, this is purely about the mechanical length of the movie. I don't think it dragged as far as the narrative goes. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out of that movie and I was very aware, again, not from a oh god that took forever perspective, but just look, I've walked out of movies, and I think this is my favorite comparison. The Conan the Barbarian starring Arnold Schwarzenegger is over 2 hours long. Conan the Barbarian starring Jason Momoa is significantly shorter. I know which one of those movies feels longer.
The one with Bob Sapp.
Yeah. Noseless Bob. Don't worry about it.
While he's talking, Google Bob Sapp's Tour of Losses.
Oh God, don't.
Is this a wrestling reference?
Nope.
Sort of.
Nope.
Sort of.
Not
No,
a
there are professional wrestling appearances in that list. Don't you dare lie like that.
I want her to look it up, though. There's Quentin Tarantino's next project. Bob Sapp's Tour of Defeats.
No.
Okay, I keep getting mixed information. Is his next project actually going to be the Django meets Zorro, or is it going to be the Star Trek film?
the Star Trek film.
You know what? I do that. Don't do Django and Zorro. It's just not a very good idea to begin with, and we don't need another Western, be that an actual American-style Western or just the themes and settings that Django and Zorro meeting would bring up. Just do something different, man.
So we were talking about your difficulty with the length and it feeling its length, and you're not. And upon reflection, you don't think killing the cast would have changed that for you.
I mean, no, I don't think it would have changed. I would have left the theater feeling differently because it's a very different ending to the narrative. But I don't think it would have. I would have walked out of there going, "Oh, that was a nearly 3-hour movie," because it's a nearly 3-hour movie. There's no getting around it.
I'm going to ask you a pointed question. I know the answer. I know the answer I gave when I was asked it, but my wife turned to me and she was like, "And what was the point of even having Sharon Tate in this movie?"
Misdirection?
That's what I told her. Robert?
Probably. That would have been my answer is, misdirection. I mean, part of the problem with that, though, and you mentioned that this movie is trying to build tension throughout the movie. I think there's just enough morons who don't understand what's going on and don't understand the actual history of the events being portrayed here. So when they see Sharon Tate and they see, the guy playing Charles Manson who shows up briefly, they don't actually connect the dots. Like, oh no, the people he sends there violently murdered all 4 of them.
Right.
That's actually a thing that happened. They're just not really aware of it.
Okay.
And I think that diminishes the attempt to build tension. And again, I think the misdirect, I think part of it becomes too obvious, in all honesty. And I'm trying to remember the point I'm watching this movie when I realized, because it wasn't right at the end, but just when something about the way it was structured, the events that were happening, I just went, oh, he's going to completely alter that.
When he's giving the chronostats of the 2 different outings, so that you're wondering how does this connect and who's going to end up getting murdered.
It might have been that. No, that's what. Honestly, I think it was the first time they showed Sharon Tate as being that pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I know this is Tarantino, and I know this is not a director who has, I hate to say a lot of qualms necessarily, but he has, if his vision is something very particular, he has no qualms about sticking to it. I have a really hard time imagining, even in a Tarantino movie, scheduled for wide release,
he's going to kill a pregnant woman.
He's going to show a pregnant woman stabbed 14 times.
Right.
As she's begging to be alive long enough to actually give birth to her child. Like, I don't think that's something that's going to happen.
Right.
Well, there's also the fact that, if I remember correctly, there were more people at the Tate household who were killed. It wasn't just those 4.
I think it was just those 4. I think what happened...
I thought it was a few more.
Well, there was another mass murder a little bit later perpetrated by the Manson family. Kind of what happened.
Actually, interesting fact. Did you know Quincy Jones was originally going to head over to the house that night? He'd been invited to that party. He decided not to go at the last minute.
And Buddy Holly flipped a coin for his seat on the infamous Flight of Death with the Big Bopper. Life's funny, man.
La Bamba's such a good...
Seth MacFarlane was supposed to be on one of the flights on 9/11.
Why would you say that to me?
La Bamba's such a good movie.
Because I know you and I love you, Robert.
Because at that,
So La Bamba, right? Great movie? You were screwed, blued, and tattooed, my brother.
Yeah, I can't touch that one, so I'm not going to. All right. I can't do it. I just can't.
What else didn't you like, Robert?
This isn't so much an I didn't like, more of I expected something different than what I got.
Okay.
I expected to see more of the relationship between Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth.
Really?
I expected to see more of their again, not a whole lot more, but maybe a couple of other scenes of just them interacting. Because
all the things you wanted more of in this movie, you wanted more of those two?
My only real interest in seeing this movie after it came out, and I saw a few. I did not go in depth, but I saw a few reviews. I went, okay. At this point, the primary driving force for me seeing this, apart from having to review it, is I want to see those two play off of each other.
It's the whole movie, practically. I mean,
Look,
more with the Manson family? Yeah. More with Sharon Tate?
Less with Sharon Tate.
More with Sharon Tate, other than her watching herself in the Wrecking Crew? Absolutely.
Look,
more Rick and Brad Pitt?
Yeah. I don't
there was actually a complaint by a reporter that they complained that Tarantino was being sexist by not including Sharon Tate more, to which I said, have you seen Tarantino's other films? It's not sexist.
Yeah, throw copies of Kill Bill at that person.
Yeah, that's not a valid complaint to throw at him in this. Again, I wanted to see those two bounce off of each other more. I thought there was a lot more of them just kind of doing things without each other.
Did you not get enough John Cena in the past 10 years as well?
Oh, dear God.
Look, you even got Alexis to throw up a... No, I haven't watched wrestling in 10 years, all right?
20 years, actually, I should say. I keep forgetting we're 10 years into the Shield era. 10 years...
Say, seriously, Mark, I dropped Flash Gordon and Seth MacFarlane, and even I feel that was a step too far.
I'm just saying, like, look, you're entitled to your opinion, you're entitled to your critical review of this thing, but Jesus Christ, of all the things I thought you were going to say, you know what this movie lacked? Not enough Cliff and Rick.
I don't know, it didn't feel like I got to spend enough time with them. I wanted their relationship to be more fleshed out. That was what I wanted out of this movie. Now, that's not what I got, and I'm not saying it drags the movie down. I'm saying that was my expectation versus my reality.
Got it.
At least we got the awesomeness of Brad Pitt punching out that dumbass hippie.
Oh, that was so great.
Apparently that's a real person, according to the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
It was.
Pretty much everyone that they reference as being a member of that cult, real person.
Yep.
I think the only main change was the Pussycat was actually Kitty Cat. That was actually her nickname.
I assume so. And just if you can change that without changing anything else, of course you're going to. You're Tarantino.
Somehow or other, my wife knew, and I didn't even know this, but my wife, the one thing she knew about Quentin Tarantino films is that he likes to show feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of... Honestly, again, we talked about this being a very self-indulgent movie. Yeah, same thing. There's absolutely more than is necessary in this movie.
So, would you go as far as saying this is a 3 hours Quentin Tarantino jerking off fest?
It's pretty close.
Maybe that's what you don't like about it. Like instead of making a solid film, we got 3 hours of Quentin Tarantino jerking off onto a camera lens.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like in some respects. And in fairness, it's still a really good movie. So, I shudder to think what, J.J. Abrams or Michael Bay making this same style of movie in terms of just, this is everything I want in a movie would look like, because it would be awful.
No. Michael Bay doing everything he wants to do in a movie unrestricted and with no notes would be the greatest movie ever captured on film.
Mark, you don't even believe that. Just
I mean, you wouldn't be able to see J.J. Abrams. It would be all blurred out in flare.
It'll all be shaky cam lens flare.
Yeah, exactly. It would be utterly unreadable. But
and Michael,
let me ask you this on the Michael Bay thing. That horrendous Bud Light product placement in the last Transformers film, not counting Bumblebee, was that the studio or was that Bay?
I don't know, but it was amazing.
Stop it, Mark. I have the record of our review of that.
Actually, no. We both thought The Last Night sucked, but do we? God, do we really need to go through this again on the Age of Extinction?
No. I'm just saying, even that scene in that movie, you and I both went, "This is terrible." And I think the scene in question comes from. I actually think the plowing through the beer truck comes from Age of Extinction.
Yeah, which was the best movie ever.
Stop it.
Anything else? Anything else, sir?
You mentioned, I think, the three kind of pillars of a Tarantino film. The performances in this are all good to great for any one given time. It is deeply unfair that Brad Pitt looks like that at his age. I mean, he takes his shirt off while working on that roof to fix the television antenna, and
Ooh la la, hotsy totsy.
look, again, I am an incredibly straight human being. I can still appreciate the fact that Brad Pitt might be one of the most genetically perfect people on the ever.
Ooh, Brad Pitt gives Robert Winfree the vapors. Woo!
That is a wild misread of my statement, but okay.
I have this picture of you sitting in the theater, and Brad Pitt takes his shirt off, and out came a fan, and you clutching your pearls.
Yeah, look, the pictures you have in your head are of zero interest to me.
Series, you weren't kidding though, Robert. He really is turning into freaking Robert Redford.
There's at least 2 scenes in Moneyball when he's just sitting behind the desk that if you just glance at them out of the corner of your eye, you'll think it's Robert Redford from the 80s. It's
Were
freaky.
they in a movie together?
Yes, Spy Games.
Right.
All right, anything else? If not, we're moving on to the money.
I'll see if I think I had something else. Oh yeah, I do remember what this. I think we already touched on this a little bit. I just wanted to echo the sentiment. The lack of kind of a central antagonist is a big problem. Even if you wanted to do it disjointed, and because I think it would have worked if you just had a couple of scenes that were just, the Manson family.
Agreed.
Just, again, I mean, you went through the effort to hire someone to play Charles Manson, to put him in your promotional materials. Give us a couple of
that
scenes.
actually wasn't in the movie.
But that's the thing. The movie's about Rick and Cliff, and it's a love letter to the '60s set against the backdrop of the Manson murders. That was my interpretation of what I saw after the fact. It was not what I was sold going in, though, and I think that was my only real problem with it. But I don't want to be one of those people who's going, I saw a different movie than what I was sold, so it's bad, because I want to hit those people in the dick.
Yeah, no, again, it's different than what I expected. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's
including the women, by the way. I want to hit them in the dick, too. I just want to be clear about that. I don't want to be sexist.
Well, apparently Eddie objects.
Or he agrees. We're not quite sure.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Anything else?
You just wanted to be included.
Sure.
No, I think we can move on from that. If something else strikes my mind that I really wanted to talk about, I'll circle back to it later.
You should have gone with your first impulse and said fancy. And with that, here comes the money.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
I know we talked about my intro was, was better than what I would have done if I had started to force Tarantino references into it. But it wasn't as, I don't know if you noticed this, it was a little more downplayed than normal because my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and my wife were all in the room. They normally, by 9 o'clock, they're all, running away from me so I can do my podcast because they're all afraid I'm going to just scream fuck as really loud as I possibly can. That was last Thursday, by the way. And my father-in-law has also heard a couple of my Metal Hammer of Doom intros where, hey, Alexis, I'm a little off the cuff and a little off the beaten path. And he was like, yeah, I could never listen to any of your podcasts. And I'm like, they're not meant for you, 60-year-old man. In any case, they were still in the room. And because I didn't really, tonight was not a night I really wanted to go out of my way to offend the people I'm living with, I tried to keep that in the box as I could. So it was a little less Kermit the Frog than I normally am. Just thought you should know that, in case you were disappointed. Okay.
I was going to say, and I think for the silence, you know how we feel.
On a budget, of about $100 million, give or take. As of this recording, it's made about $45 million. It did not win the weekend in its debut. The Lion King remained number one in its second week and has crossed $1 billion. More on that later. It debuted at number 2. Spider-Man fell from 2 to 3. Toy Story 3 to 4. Everyone's favorite summer horror movie, Crawl, 4 to 5. Everyone's favorite Beatles song sung by an Indian, 5 to 6. Aladdin remained at number 7. Stuber fell from 6 to 8.
Apparently, though, warrants at least a much higher theater placement than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood here. I was stuck in I got that small theater for my showing of this. There's always at least two that are just really small.
I had to take my wife to the Cinebistro in order to get her to agree to go to the Tarantino film. So I don't know if you know what a Cinebistro is, Robert, but it's one of those places where they serve
You have referenced
dinner.
it on the show in the past.
Have I? Okay. Fancy dinner. That's what they call it. The Farewell went from 12 to 10. Avengers stayed at number 11 for the second week in a row. The Secret Life of Pets, 10 to 12. Midsommar, which you can hear a review of on the Red Letter Media's Half in the Bag, along with their Comic-Con not so much coverage. 9 to 13. Rocketman maintained its spot at number 14. John Wick stayed at number 15. The Art of Self-Defense, 13 to 16.
I'm so tempted to see that.
Mentor stayed at 17. Men in Black, 16 to 18. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 26 to 19. Apparently it opened up in more theaters, I guess, somewhere in the world.
Finally got past the censors in India.
And rounding out the top 20 is Bookshmot. That also, again, opened up in a bunch of other theaters, apparently, because it rose from 32 to 20 this past weekend. So that's that. Where we are for the year. Worldwide. Disney owns your life, as per usual. Avengers, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, which, depending on how you look at it, is either a Sony or a Disney film. I'm counting
it's a Disney film. Sony gets nothing.
Disney. Yeah, I'm counting it for Disney since they actually made the damn film, and I'm not sure how much of the proceeds they get. But for our purposes, Spider-Man number 3, which has made over $1 billion. Aladdin cracked the $1 billion mark. I told you so. Box Office Mojo has The Lion King at 999, but I've seen reports that it's not past $1 billion, so let's just say it's past $1 billion. The headlines all over Variety and Deadline were it's the fourth Disney movie this year to pass $1 billion, so they're not counting Spider-Man. Toy Story is awfully close. They're at 920 million. And then rounding out the top 10 are The Wandering Earth, How to Train Your Dragon, Pokemon, and Alita. Wow. The summer of Disney, folks. And for those of you keeping track, Dark Phoenix has made $252 million on a substantially more higher budget. Fox, we knew you well. As to how this is going to fare going forward, I think it's going to have a steep drop. I'll be curious. I think by the end of its run, it makes $100 million, but it gets, but it squeaks over $100 million. I don't think it does much more than that. We've got the Hobbs and Shaw coming up, and then a whole bunch of stuff comes out August 9th. The Kitchen, which Jesse and I are going to go see and talk about. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which you guys and Jason Teasley are going to talk about. There's Dora, which my wife's going to take my kids to, and then Brian Banks and the Art of Racing in the Rain. So,
okay, I do have to ask you a very serious question about this when we reconvene. Are you going to be honest about how much The Kitchen sucks, or are you going to blow smoke to try and cover?
I will do an apt comparison to the book.
All right.
I just had a thought. We were talking about how this film seems to be more award baity than some of the other movies recently. What awards do you think this film's going to get?
Cinematography. Best Actor.
DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Okay, I could see.
But my wife and I were talking about that.
Almost certainly. Something about the production design, the costuming in particular.
I will tell you, and my wife and I were talking about this on the ride home, I bet Leonardo DiCaprio gets an Oscar, but it's kind of like the Denzel Washington Oscar, where it's, they said it for this movie, but it's more of a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Sure.
I don't think Brad Pitt gets nominated, and I don't think Margot
Which
Robbie
is a
gets
shame
nominated.
because again, DiCaprio's more animated, but I think I gravitated a bit more towards Pitt's portrayal as he was a bit more subdued.
Yeah.
Did laugh pretty hard at him on the acid. That was kind of when he turns on the light. He's like, "Oh, bad idea, bad idea." That was funny.
No.
When he gets back in and starts waving his finger around, and the train has left the station.
Yeah, like I said, it's a look for a movie fan. It's a great performance, but I think if you're looking for Oscar-worthy performances, they look at DiCaprio and nobody else in this picture. In any case, as far as how well it's going to do, like I said, it squeaks to 100. It squeaks to 100 million. It's got a lot of competition. It's a long tail of competition. Like I don't think there's any one movie that's gonna pull in all the people. But I think between Hobbs and Shaw and then all the movies coming out on the 9th, and then a fair amount of movies people might go see on the 16th, I just think over the course of the month of August, it just dies and people lose interest. And then the Angry Birds movie comes out. Angry Birds? Anyone?
Mark, I think you and I both gave negative reviews to the first Angry Birds movie.
And maybe
Because
you
you both have brain cells.
No. Mark, do not try to walk this back. I will pull up the review and I will make you listen to it.
Did we?
Plug.
Did we review that? Because I don't remember
Yes.
if we did.
Good God, I would not have watched it without you making me.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the way it's come down to with our movies. It's like, did I see that or not? I would only have seen it if Mark made me. Yes.
Well, I know it's one that I took my daughter to. I don't think I took No, I think I took the whole family to that one. That was a family outing.
It's a terrible movie. This is how you get excited about movies. You have such great selective memory. All the stuff we review that's terrible, you just kind of, all right, I saw it, I talked about it, now I move on.
Right.
And you then get to pretend that, oh, wait, no, that wasn't as bad as I remember it, and I'm sitting here screaming, yes, it was.
Yeah, but do you know how many times I've seen it since then? Because my son insisted I buy it for him, and we watch it when I was on 2 on, 2 off. So, like, that's how long ago this movie was. I was on a whole other shift at the time. But, like, he would watch 2 or 3 of the same movies over and over and over again.
Yeah, he's a small child. It's what they do.
Yeah, and he would make me watch them with him because parenting. And I don't know if this is whetting your appetite for children, Alexis, but let me tell you, there's nothing better than watching the same exact movie over and over and over again with your child. One of them was Angry Birds.
You know, actually, I hate to say it, I've been known to, not repeatedly, all like 300 times in one afternoon, but I've been known to watch the same movie repeatedly. Studies have actually shown people with anxiety disorder, like myself, actually like watching the same movies and TV shows over and over again.
We go to sleep to Family Guy. I get that. But we used to watch the Angry Birds movie, The Boss Baby, and I think Lego Batman, like on repeat.
Wow, that is such a terrible lineup. Your
was my
son
son.
is going
I like
to be
Lego Batman.
so damaged.
Sorry, I like Lego Batman.
My son loved those movies. He
I
also
always
loved
have a
Captain
memory.
Underpants.
Actually, credit where credit's due. Captain Underpants was very well done and very creative. I actually there is a charm to that I liked.
Yes. Agreed.
But I have one of my favorite memories from Lego Batman. Saw that with my aunt. I mentioned this last week. She and I always go to see the animated films together. And when they do that huge lineup of all the villains that have come out, and they include all those random villains from the TV show and the comics and the animated series, my aunt looks at me with this just what the fuckery look on her face, and I turned and I said, yeah, they're all legit villains. Just like I knew exactly what she was thinking when
I think
saw
I had
that
the
face.
same moment with my daughter and my wife where they were both like, is that a joke? And I'm like, nope, Condiment Man's real.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's like, nope, Eggman, the guy, oh my god, yeah, they're all legit.
Anyway, moving on. So, any other thoughts here about the money there, Mr. Robert?
Nothing unexpected here. I kind of agree with you. This is gonna be profitable, I think, but barely. Unless it finds a real dedicated audience that just do not want to see what else is coming out.
Well, for it to be profitable, it has to hit $200 million, and I don't think it's going to.
If it does, it'll be barely. I mean, again, this is not opened huge, but at the same time, you're not looking at a whole lot that's going to cut into its audience. Again, the larger audience, yes, because again, there's much bigger movies coming out, but how much of what's coming out is going to bite into this?
Like I said, I feel like the buzz on this and everything, I feel like this is one where a lot of people see it on a streaming media of some sort. Like, I don't think this is... I think anyone that was going to see this in the theater saw it already.
There's a real chance for that.
So, all right, in that case, let me try to hit the buttons in the right order this time.
But I just gotta know one thing. Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So it's 84% on the tomato meter right now, with an audience score of 72%. I think that sums up this movie quite well.
That's about right, yeah.
I'll give you that.
So, speaking of summed up really well, I want you to know, Alexis, that you, my dear, my friend, you say things, and I take care to consider them. You have an impact on me and how I conduct myself. I want you to know that. And here's where I'm going with this. You said it's becoming cliched, and you said this from fanning yourself with your giant hat and drinking lemonade on a summer's day. You said, you speak of cliched things, and yet this bit has become cliched because you always bring up the same people. And I decided, I'm going to do this entire bit now, and I'm not bringing up a single reviewer we've come across before. How do you like them apples?
I don't own a big hat.
Yes, but now I've painted a picture, see?
Yeah, I know. It's just like of all the things you paint, it's like I don't really wear hats, and the few that I own, none of them are big.
Matthew Rosa of Salon.com, top critic. It feels like Tarantino is so wrapped up in indulging his own filmmaking style that he loses sight of what made his best movies work.
I think that's kind of what we... That was kind of my big complaint about this movie, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, did we go over this?
Rex Reed of The Observer, top critic. God, he's still alive?
Really?
It's normally my line.
Frankly, my darling, I find the entire experience baffling, and any attempt to laugh off the Manson murders as sitcom fodder embarrassing.
Okay,
They
hold
weren't
on.
They weren't laughing them off.
Yeah, I mean this in all sincerity, senior moron. Who's laughing off the Manson murders?
I think he's referring to the tongue-in-cheek way the murder in defense was handled on the Dalton attack. I mean, one girl gets taken out with a can to the face. Come on.
Dude, have you ever seen what the type of velocity you can get on a can of dog food
I'm
like
not
that if you actually throw it?
saying that a tight spiral can to the face wouldn't do damage. I'm saying that in defense of his position, the way that Tarantino's general over the top violence style lends itself to laughter, and I think that's what he's pointing to.
Okay, if you're pointing to just the fact that a significant portion of the human population has a nervous laughter response to stimuli they're uncomfortable with, I can't help you about the psychology of humanity.
Okay.
Did he also get upset with Inglourious Bastards that we were making fun of the death of Hitler?
I could not tell you. Lindsay Zolads, The Ringer. You can't tell the story of the Manson murders without at least gesturing towards Polanski. But he's presented with an unexamined lightness that feels indicative of the movie's general tendency to skirt tougher questions about violence against women. Oh, you're the person that changed the sign that said "Once upon a time in Pettiwood."
Look, I will say this in brief fairness. it's a relevant point to loosely bring up, and if this movie had given any more time to Roman Polanski as a character, not touching on some of the terrible things that sick, depraved sack of crap has done, would have been a massive disservice.
Wasn't what the movie was about. He's there.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Him existing as a peripheral character to another somewhat peripheral character in Sharon Tate. If you go out of your way to talk about it at that point, you're just shoehorning it in to shoehorn it in.
Correct.
And it would serve no purpose other than to make you feel better about bashing on Polanski. And don't get me wrong, again, giant sack of crap who should be killed.
Look, if you want to make a movie, showing all the terribleness that is Polanski, then going to Europe and bringing him back in a sack, I'm all for it. But that wasn't what this movie was, and it would have been highly distracting.
The fact is, Polanski has done horrible things, but are we really going to hold that over the story of Sharon Tate?
I wouldn't, and I don't. And frankly, expecting you to is your own fixation on this. It's not healthy.
Well, that was my larger point. Alex Leininger of Pop Matters. See what happens when I don't read the normal people? Not only is this one of Tarantino's least risky films, it's also one of his most forgettable.
I'm not sure how you would qualify this as least risky given the current climate of cinema. This is a movie that does take a profound risk. I mean, again, Reservoir Dogs, in terms of some of the violence it portrayed and its low budget. Pulp Fiction, for its narrative style, sure, massive risks and massive leaps in filmmaking. This is more of a contextual risk in that does the 2019 movie-going audience have the patience and wherewithal to enjoy this movie?
I'll go ahead and call it least risky on the grounds that, there's probably the least amount of blood we have seen in any of his recent films, and no one says the N-word.
Well, in all fairness, if you're going to set a movie in the antebellum South and none of the white people say the N-word, you're sanitizing it for contemporary society rather than trying to accurately represent it.
I struggle remembering the word antebellum. Like, I want to use it a lot when talking about that subject, and I can never remember the word, and it drives me crazy. I'm going to get a tattoo to my arm just for that reason. Like you might do.
Look, I'm not arguing against the use of the N-word in Django Unchained, okay? But I am pointing out that there were a lot of people who threw bitch fits over how much they used that word in that movie. And I did walk out saying, they didn't say it this time.
Yeah, I have to admit, as I was walking through the parking lot back to the car, in the back of my head, I'm like, he didn't use the N-word once in that movie. Was he sick? Ryan Syrek, the reader of Omaha, Nebraska.
Wait, were there any black actors in this movie?
I don't think so.
Possibly no. For the second straight time, Quentin Tarantino has made a mean, ugly movie that revels in the grotesque mutilation of a woman at the hands of a man.
Oh, shut up.
These people are aware that of the four people who went to murder Sharon Tate, 3 of them, including the one who did back out, that part of the movie was accurate, were women, right?
Surely not.
No, because then they'd actually have to read something and do research into elements of their material, and they can't just posture online.
Here's one for you, Robert. Diane Carson of KDHX, St. Louis. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood really is, with apologies to Faulkner, a lot of sound and fury essentially signifying nothing.
Wow.
I don't get
really?
what is apologies to
Faulkner? Why? Who? You stupid person.
No, seriously, what does apologies to Faulkner mean?
William Faulkner, I believe, has either a short novel or a short story with that as the title, if memory serves. Faulkner himself is referencing the source of that quote, which you, moron, are apparently too stupid or lazy to look up. If you know enough to know that Faulkner wrote a story called that, you should know that he's referencing a line from Macbeth.
Oh, I know how to pick him. Courtney Small of Cinema Axis. Unlike Tarantino's previous work, the film's entertaining fragments do not smoothly blend into a cohesive whole.
There might be some truth to that.
Not really. There's plenty wrong that we talked about. It not being cohesive wasn't one of them.
Well,
it's pretty straightforward.
Hold on. The point being made here was not that the narrative is not cohesive, but that the entertainment value is not. It is not a consistently entertaining or engaging movie.
Well, that's very subjective.
Yes, it is, but I also think there might be a bit of a point to that. The parts of the movie that really do engage you are a bit few and far between. And
there were three people sitting next to each other watching this. One was very engaged, one didn't know what she was watching, and the other was on her phone.
Okay, so I suppose the bigger question there then becomes: are you trying to make a generalized point, or are you making an appeal to the audience? In which case, which actually supports her claim, not yours.
Fair enough. Jason Escamilla of Eskimo TV. I don't know what that is. Underwhelmingly episodic, resulting in a compilation of scenes that, despite having some good moments, lack a fully developed, captivating story that pays off.
Yeah, see, that I disagree with. You see, the way it was phrased previously lends itself to a more moderate point that I think is at least worth discussing. This is not. This is, I didn't get what I wanted. Wah.
Speaking of which, Avi Offer of New York City Movie Guru.
Okay.
First of all, I gotta reveal his score to you. Okay?
All
so
right.
Just looking at the ones underneath it, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 4, 3.5 out of 4. His 3.7822391 out of 10.
Wow, there's a level of pretentious I don't think has been sunk to yet.
Shallow, meandering, and tedious, with only sporadic jolts of guilty pleasure, fun, and wit. Star power and charisma are not enough to keep the film afloat. Did its editor fall asleep in the editing room? No, and that's a stupid question. That's a stupid statement to make, considering the kind of editing used in this film.
Yeah, this is not a movie where you complain about the editing, unless you're complaining about the overall length. That's really not a valid complaint here.
Tarantino's always been well known for his editing.
Yeah, like, you're an idiot. Moreover, I will give you meandering. I think that's a fair way to describe parts of this movie. That's not the same as boring or uninteresting.
Ray Green of Synagogues.com. Oh dear God, another 3-hour-long Quentin Tarantino movie is upon us. A film simultaneously so languid and so filled to bursting with Tarantino's tics, mannerisms, and periodic greatness, it's both a chore and a delight to witness.
Did somebody seriously just use the word languid in a review?
Yep.
Yes. Shame on you for that. Even if your point is somewhat valid, yeah, shame on you for that. I'm not even sure languid is appropriately used in this context. This is not a laconic movie.
Let's see here. Actually, a lot of our usual suspects actually really liked the movie. Gave it good reviews.
That makes me worried. I hate agreeing with them. Makes me worried that there's something wrong with me.
Carla Renata of the Curvy Film Critic. Tarantino provides a love letter to 1969 Hollywood with all its landmarks, gossip, and drama. Pitt and DiCaprio are perfect pairing. As a huge Tarantino fan, the film fails to hold up to the hype. Got nothing but love for his artistry, though.
Again, some of that's hype is largely a personal thing. How excited are you for it? What did you expect relative to what you got, etc.? Again, if you want to blame the marketing team for false advertisement, fine, sue them. But that's not on the movie. That's on you and the marketing team.
Corey Coleman of Double Toasted.
Wow.
He might have been while writing this.
That is certainly a outlet.
It's a polarizing thing. To me, it's a portrayal of everything I've seen from him before this.
Everything I've known is a lie. How could you do? You're the same person who destroyed records when the Beatles broke up, aren't you? No one can ever listen to the Beatles again. I have been betrayed. How much of your personal identity is wrapped up in this crap? You do not matter, sir.
Ben Socks.
Moreover, if anything, this is an extreme magnification of Tarantino's idiosyncrasies, not a betrayal of everything you've come to expect from him as a filmmaker.
Ben Sox of Chicago Reader. Though Tarantino mixes fiction and historical fact cleverly and confidently, I'm not sure what he wanted to achieve with this mix this time, and I'm not sure if he knew either.
You know, there's a bit of a point there that I think is valid. Again, this meanders a lot, and it does seem, again, this is a very self-indulgent movie that seems to justify its own existence purely by its existence. And whether or not you want to say that that isn't in and of itself enough, I suppose comes down to a more of a philosophical question that each of us will answer individually than any sort of objective reality we can discuss about it.
So, 2017, 2018, somewhere in there, we had our Trumpiest reviews.
Ugh. Yes, those bunch of morons.
This might be the year of the Me Too reviews. Grace Randolph, Beyond the Trailer. Really well made, really well acted, bad movie. Tarantino's disrespect for the Manson murder victims is shocking and unexplainable, as are a number of his choices here.
Sweet.
What do you... How... That's not even...
Hang on. I want to hear from Alexis here because she sounds like she's about had it with this.
Okay.
My dear.
Again, did these people flip out at the end of Inglourious Basterds when they changed the ending to they won the war in one night? Are they upset that I don't get it. Are they upset that they let them live? Dude, seriously, that's the thing. Is like they're not showing respect to those who were slaughtered. I'm like, okay, so you wanted them to die in the film, then? Good to know. That's all I'm getting out of this shit.
Yeah, apparently they wanted an alternate universe movie where Manson is strung up by a bunch of women and torn asunder in the streets of Los Angeles, right on Sunset Boulevard.
I'm sorry, I just don't get this whole "you're not showing respect to the victims" thing. When he wrote the movie so the victims live.
And it's not like he showed them as deplorable, terrible people either. These aren't bumbling buffoons. They're just people. And yeah, I really don't. I'm with you. I don't get where these people get that the victims of this crime are being disrespected.
God damn it, both of you. Sharon Tate had no right to have an ego so large that she sat in a theater and watched herself in The Wrecking Crew. How dare you? How dare you? How disrespectful.
I did send the article that said that Sharon Tate's sister actually praised how Tarantino and Margot Robbie portrayed her sister, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked about Bruce Lee's daughter being furious. Sharon Tate's family loved this movie.
Good. Maybe we should send it to that reviewer. And this one. Ruben Safaya of Cinemalog. Does this genuinely sweet moment lead to Tate's vengeance against her would-be killers? As if there aren't enough male buddy movies, women's agency be damned.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I think I just popped a braid cell. Huh?
One more time?
No, do not reread that.
Don't reread it on
I'm sorry, did you want the 8.5-month pregnant Sharon Tate to strap on an M16 and go seek vengeance out in the desert?
I genuinely would have enjoyed that.
I know you would have. You enjoyed Mark Wahlberg finding a football in the middle of Hong Kong and pegging someone in the head with it. You have terrible taste. We've established this.
I think Sharon Tate... Go ahead.
I just don't get... I do not get that review. And not is it like, I don't understand where you can come from. It's like, no. That is a math equation that doesn't work out in my head. I don't get it.
2 + 2 does not equal shoes.
Okay, it's fine.
Rosalie Kicks of Movie John. I don't know what a Movie John is.
Well, Mark, you see, there's a slang term you call straight-laced for when a man who will find a prostitute. I believe they're referred to as...
Not a John. John. Jawn.
Oh.
I don't know what that is.
Your accent completely stumbled all over the W there.
Yeah, between the accent and the sinus infection, I'm not doing well here.
I apologize then. I don't know what that is either. I'm going to look that up. Hang on.
Moviejawn. Moviejawn, one word.
Okay, it is a very specific bit of dialect from eastern Pennsylvania.
Terrific.
Referring to a person, place, or event that one need not or cannot give specific name to. So it's a very generalized kind of term that is a very localized dialect. So now at least we know where this place is centered.
Quentin Tarantino has no doubt earned the luxury to direct like a wild man. This bloated mess of a flick proves he needs to be tamed. R.I.P. Sally Menke?
I don't know what that's in reference to.
Wasn't Sally Menke his former editor who passed on?
Probably.
Yeah, it's probably what he's referring to. All right, we're going to end this with apologies to Alexis Hejna, who said, "God damn it, stop being a cliched hack." And I said, "But I'm Mark. Have we met?"
I didn't call you a cliche hack.
But I am, and that's the point.
You should have. It's accurate.
We're going to end this with old man Leonard Maltin.
Oh, speaking of people we're surprised are still alive. Not because he's terrible, he is, but because he's so old.
Okay, for the record, Sally Menke was Tarantino's longtime editor.
Well, that review makes slightly more sense now. All right, Leonard Maltin of LeonardMaltin.com. Come on, give it to me.
Can't even find a job with a legitimate publication, you self-employed loser.
There we go. Tarantino, someday, Alexis Hejna is going to meet Leonard Maltin at a convention, and she's going to go into what a big fan of he is, and what a big fan of him she is, and what he's talked about with regards to animation. He goes, "Aren't you on that asshole podcast with those guys Winfree and Radulich?" And she's going to run away into a cartoon hole that she pulls out of the Astroverse.
No one's actually listening, Mark.
I was going to say, you act like we still have listeners.
We do. I've seen the numbers. Tarantino is an omnivore of popular culture. He has no need to prove this again. This movie reveals ambition but drowns in excess. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is just an elaborate time filler.
What?
I can kind of see the beginnings of the point that I assume Leonard Maltin eventually reaches throughout the review. I'm not sure. I think the thing we've now gotten out of this movie is all the people who didn't really enjoy it wanted to say that it's not good, but struggled to find an actual way to, apart from latching onto a few issues that we talked about here as well, and then saying this proves it's not good when it doesn't.
That seems fair. All right. Hey, your dad didn't like it, by the way.
Oh yeah, your bit. Sorry, I forget. I occasionally had to go with, wait a minute, I don't think my dad has seen this yet. He's currently driving to Ohio.
No, your dad, Roger Moore of Movie Nation. He thinks it's an indulgent mess, even by Tarantino standards.
Yeah, he's not. Again, he's not entirely wrong. This is an unbelievably self-indulgent movie from Tarantino.
But if you like Tarantino style enough, you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, again, I said, like we said in the review, it's to his eternal credit as a filmmaker that even something that is basically an excuse for him to blow his eccentricities all over the place, it's still an exceptional movie in many respects.
All right, yesterday, the same group plus Jesse and Ronnie did a podcast talking about the third iteration of the DC Hanna-Barbera team-up comic books. What Robert Winfree was less than moved by much of what we said, but the least offensive one was Alexis Hejna's presentation of Yogi and Deathstroke. You can go ahead and listen to all the hilarity that was that show on Source
I
Material.
need to listen to. I'm tempted to listen to it just to see how it was edited and put together, because that was a lot of fun, and I'm curious what Jesse wound up cutting.
It works very well, the whole thing. Tomorrow, Jesse and I will review the latest L7 album, Scatter the Rats. Sean Comer is back for on trial. He will be defending, and I will be prosecuting one of my babies, one of my favorite Tarantino movies, Jackie Brown. We will be taking a break on Friday, but we're back Saturday. I am trying out a new boxing analyst, boxing co-host here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
At what time is that fight?
The broadcast time starts at 8.
You know, I might be free for that.
Okay, well, that'll be...
Okay, just on the off chance you want or need me, the UFC on ESPN card this Saturday, the first prelim starts, I believe, at noon Eastern.
Really? Because I've got the broadcast time is 10 o'clock. I would have asked you to start with.
I'm pretty sure that this, because they've been talking about it all week, how this one's going to have a much earlier start time than normal.
Yeah, I've got Covington versus Lawler at 10 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Well, stay with me. Let me know what's going on.
No. Stop. That's when it will air on ESPN Plus. That's not when it airs live on ESPN.
Oh. Okay. Well, that's the whole reason I didn't ask you when I went fishing for somebody new in the first place.
Yeah, unless the entirety of the MMA world has been lying to me specifically for the last 4 days about the start time of this event. If there's some grand conspiracy whereby all MMA journalists and the UFC in general and the commentary team for the last 2 events have decided, you know what would be funny? If we tell them all it starts 4 hours earlier than normal and it doesn't.
We just fuck with Robert Winfree from 401mania.com. Just what an asshole he's been for the past 10 years.
I would not put it past them. They're that petty. I'm just going to say that.
All right. Well, I'm trying somebody new on the analysis desk. We might have the Howard Lederman of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, Robert Winfree, with us for Kaunaki versus Areola, one of the rare heavyweight fights on broadcast television that isn't for a belt, from what I can tell. Brought to you by Premier Boxing Championships on Fox. Fox proper, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, Kaunaki has kind of been making some noise about fighting Deontay Wilder, and, you know, initially it was a stupid call-out, but over the last few fights, he's developed into a pretty slick in-fighter, especially for a heavyweight.
Well, I would like to see somebody do something with Deontay Wilder's lack of his inability to use his reach, so... That'll be fun.
I mean, look, they're going to do the rematch with Tyson Fury, and hopefully the judges aren't on the take this time.
That's a lot to ask for. All right.
Okay, let me rephrase. Hopefully Tyson Fury's technical brilliance is so unbelievably profound this time that even though a bunch of crooked, blind mice won't be able to believably go, but Wilder.
This Monday...
They use your logic when it comes to scoring. At least one judge used Mark Radulich's logic when scoring that fight. Because black folks.
And there goes the last few listeners. Bye-bye.
Hang on. In all fairness, Mark has stated repeatedly in the past that is a motivation for things
He's not lying. Speaking of not lying, myself, Jesse Starcher, and Evan Bevins looked at the first 6 issues of Patsy Walker, a.k.a. Hellcat, Volume 1. I'm hooked on a feline rar. In case you're wondering,
you really couldn't resist that, could you?
No, I actually did the whole limp-wristed
close.
claw thing with it.
We were so close. You hadn't sung yet all show.
I'm in a room alone. Everybody in this house is in bed, and I still have to do the gay paw thing. Patsy Walker. Speaking of Damn You Hollywood, myself and Robert Winfree, and Robert Winfree only, because Alexis Hejna has had enough of this happy horse shit, will be reviewing Hobbs and Shaw. And mind you, Robert Winfree made me see this movie. So
no.
Point that out there.
No.
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Hang on. That is a blatant distortion of the series of events. Blatant.
That's how I remember it. I wasn't going to do that one because even I thought it was stupid, and Robert Winfree's
stop,
it's not stupid enough.
Stop. You and I both know after that first trailer comes out, you're calling me and saying, hey, guess what's on the schedule?
I was going to skip it.
No, you were not. look, initially maybe, but then once the material started coming out,
No, actually,
you and I both know.
what was gonna if you hadn't said let's do it, what I would have done. My reason for doing it would have been I have to take my daughter to go see it because every time she saw the trailer, she was bouncing in her seat, throwing jabs.
Yeah, again.
Your daughter, really. Little Miss Feminist in Training wants to see that.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm
even
guessing because of Vanessa Kirby and The Rock.
Look, even feminists love The Rock. I mean, what are you going to do?
This is true. She actually has a celebrity crush. Want to know who it is?
Sure.
John Cena.
You fail at parroting.
No. Hold on. I mean this in all seriousness. I might find John Cena a largely unengaging professional wrestler and utterly useless as a personality in film. But that's a darn good human being.
He's also a very attractive man. I mean, she has good tastes.
Look, I will never mock John Cena's how much he's given to charity and given back to communities. He's a good guy. He is.
Look, no one ever said he's not making Oscar-nominated films here, and nor did I think he ever got into the biz to do that. So yeah, it's fine. She can be. She's 8 years old. Give her her crushes and quit giving her the business. God damn it.
In all seriousness, this is not a joke. About a decade ago, I think another 8-year-old girl that came through when I was working at Kmart said she was going to marry John Cena.
There you go.
That's how long 8-year-old girls have been infatuated with someone they can't see.
My ex, when my ex and I used to watch wrestling, he indulged me drooling over John Morrison.
Well, he's not wrong there either. Those abs can cut through stone.
I do not get. All right,
I'm sorry. I did not catch a word of what either of you said. You were talking over each other.
John Morrison's abs can cut through. God damn it! Take 3. John Morrison's abs could cut through stone. Your turn, sir.
I'll take your word for it. Look, the last time I saw him, he was Johnny something or other on the internet.
Johnny Impact.
Haven't they fired him yet?
I don't know, but they also just hired Emma, so...
I don't know, but I'll find out this coming Friday when I agreed to take that bullet for Larry Zonka.
Oh, God, you poor bastard. Anyway, moving on.
This is what I get. This is just what I get for being a helpful person. Larry goes into the hospital. There goes out the call. Can someone cover Impact? I said, sure. I have no Fridays. I have no life. I have no self-respect. I
can find things for you to do. You don't have to cover Impact.
You don't pay me.
I trust you.
So August 7th is the last...
Yeah, but again, what you might have me do on a Friday night might be more painful than reviewing Impact, and you don't pay me.
August 7th is the last day of my 30-day doctor house arrest / probation.
Are you going to run pantsless through the streets?
I will be celebrating said end of my doctor-imposed house arrest at my in-laws by reviewing the new Volbeat on Metal Hammer of Doom. Rewind,
Boy, are you
replay,
just going to
rebound.
paint the town red?
Yeah. The last Volbeat got a lot of listens, and it was mostly me and Jesse swearing to murder everybody in Volbeat because that album is so bad. Ugh. But we're going to take a second crack at it by Gadfree. Speaking of by Gadfree, August 8th, myself and Sean Colma will review the last season of Orange is the New Black, which gave me a headache because I stayed up all night watching it and cried almost every single episode. What a tearjerker. Ugh.
I will never understand your emotional attachment to that show.
Do you watch Ring of Honor at all?
Yeah, not in several years.
Ugh. Anyway.
Why?
They've got a show I want to watch Friday the 9th, and I need someone to review it with me.
Sorry. That's one of the days. I believe that's one of the days I'm covering Impact.
Anyway. Myself and Pat Mullen will be returning to boxing coverage for Carl Frampton versus Emmanuel Dominguez on ESPN Plus on Saturday the 10th. Monday, you're going to get a split 7-inch, a live source material, Damn You Hollywood split 7-inch, where we talk about the book and review the movie The Kitchen. On Tuesday, you're going to get a double helping of Radulich and Broadcasting shows. Over on the left side, you're going to have Robert Winfree, Alexis Hejna, and Jason Teasley the Gore Hounds. Sorry.
Wow. Freudian slip there.
I'm so tired. Gorehounds, the horror buffs. They're going to talk about scary stories to tell your mother behind the door, in the dark, in the basement, behind the sign that says beware of the leopard. And the rest of us cool kids, myself and the four podsmen, are going to review SummerSlam. How about that?
I'm going to bet, A, that my experience will be less painful.
Apparently that was a very famous book. I didn't know that. My wife was telling me. She was like, yeah, that was the book that all the cool kids read years ago. Did you know
Mark
that, Alexis?
Which book?
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Considering how many people on Facebook have been bragging about how much they loved reading that when they were kids, yeah.
Did you read it?
Actually, no, I didn't. I think I've mentioned this before. I did not really get into horror until I got older. I didn't like a lot of scary things as a kid. I just didn't acclimate well to them. And I've often said that I'm not ashamed of that. A lot of people, very few people, I think, really get into horror when they're kids. We all get into if you get into scary stuff, we all get into it in different parts in our lives. So
fair enough. Speaking of scary stuff, myself and Jason Teasley and one of the four podsmen, Mr. TMC, we're going to review the new Slipknot album, We Are Not Your Kind. And then Sean Comer back for a third week in a row. We will be doing a TV party for Glow Season 3. And boy, oh boy, Jesse and I will be contributing to the Superblog team up by doing a watch-along for a movie that, from what I've been told, has been claimed by the female gender as their sci-fi. It's your sci-fi, Alexis. I don't know if you know that or not. That's what I was told. You know what that movie is? Do you know what sci-fi movie belongs to you?
Which one?
Jupiter Ascending.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Look, you can have it.
I'm sorry. I don't care that both the Wachowskis are women now. That movie sucked.
Yeah, it does. Jesse and I are going to watch it for the Superblog team up, where the theme is immortality.
I'm not even sure that really fits the theme, but if you just want to torture yourselves.
Well, it does. I read the plot synopsis.
Enjoy the moment where they apparently try to homage Terry Gilliam, even having him have a brief cameo, and they miss the point.
Terrific. Can't wait.
That's basically the story of their entire filmmaking career, is missing the point.
Speaking of missing the point, Robert Winfree is going to attempt to do analysis and a written review, write-up, coverage of
live blogging.
UFC 241, Cormier versus Miocic 2. Hopefully this will not be a disastrous mess.
It'll be a disastrous mess.
Terrific.
Look, our listeners know what they're getting.
August.
I thought we scared them all off.
Nope, they haven't. They haven't all gone away. I've seen the numbers.
If there's still people watching Uwe Boll movies, there's still people listening to our podcasts.
Speaking of Uwe Boll, we've got Saga.
Is Uwe Boll still even making movies?
I don't know.
We've got Saga of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, Book 1, on August 19th. We've got the Swamp Thing TV show from DC Universe on the 20th. Thy Art is Moira. It's Moira, Jesse Starcher. Human Target review on the Metal Hammer of Doom on the 21st. And then Sean, in a fourth week in a row, it's all Sean all the time on Thursdays in August. We've got an on trial for Swamp Thing from 1982. And then just penciled in, myself, Jesse Starcher, and Al Sedano will be doing a TV party for Good Omens.
Who's Al Sedano?
Oh, you don't know Al Sedano? You don't know Al Sedano? Well, I'll tell you about him on the Screaming Boy podcast, August 25th, where you, myself, and the good son, Ronnie Adams, will be discussing D23. And finally, we wrap up. Finally, we wrap up August with DC First, Superman Lobo, Krypton Season 2, Rage of Light Imploder, and myself and Alexis Hejna will be doing a middle of the day TV party for the Banana Splits movie brought to you by the Sci-Fi Channel on August 29th. Hot diggity dog. And finally, Chris Bailey, myself and Pat Mullen will be doing an immediate review as soon as it ends and right before AEW begins for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff on August 31st. So,
wow.
What?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone pronounce Cardiff that way.
Cardiff?
Yeah.
That's how you say it in French.
No.
Alexis, go ahead and plug your company.
Sorry, I just love how you guys start saying stupid shit like that, and all of a sudden you cut to me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I need a moment to reattach my brain. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic. In just a few days, we are going to be at the Kansas City Nerdlesque Festival. That is Kansas City's first ever nerdy burlesque event. We're going to be setting up shop there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Really excited that we have a brand new product we're debuting. Our new ribbon chokers with Scrabble tile pendants. This is something I've been, fairly interested in doing, and this is an opportunity to really just see how they do, and I'm really excited about it. We will be posting pictures of the event throughout the night, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Under Protest Twitter. I actually gave a lengthy Facebook post the other day about why Twitter is under protest from me. And as
Twitter's, I think Twitter's so much better if they would actually make the ability to block and mute different things more accessible. Because if you figure out how to work it, I think it's fine. But they don't make that very easy.
Yeah, I actually tried the priority settings and see if I could block a particular word. I'll give you guys 3 guesses what that was. And it doesn't work.
Is it supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
I don't even know how to spell that shit. And no.
Okay.
Again, Honeysuckle Rose Creations. Stores on Etsy and handmade at Amazon. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
You're up, Robert.
All right. Again, this coming Saturday, again, unless I've been lied to copiously by at least 3 different institutions, none of which have any impetus to do so, and I'm not that paranoid, I will have coverage of the UFC on ESPN 5 card this Saturday. First prelim starts at noon Eastern, so be aware of the early start time. Yeah, the main card, I think, starts at a very early time for the East Coast. I don't know. I think they're trying to get out of the way of the boxing event, or ESPN has. ESPN probably has something better to air in the primetime time slot.
I can actually tell you what it is. Let's see. There's a Michael Conlon versus Diego Alberto Ruiz on ESPN Plus, but that's at 2. That's saying it's from 2 to 6 according to my schedule. Keep going.
I don't know. I'll figure it out later when the time comes around. So you can find me covering that in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania. If you're interested in the sport, stop by, say hello, throw an insult my way. I don't care. In all seriousness, there's a pretty good group of people that kind of hang out in the comments section for most of these. If you want to engage, by all means do so. If you don't. You find me in the comments on occasion. People, if there's huge downtime between fights, I will go in there and try to be somewhat helpful to the extent that I can be. So check that out. Again, next Tuesday is our review of Hobbs and Shaw, where I try not to kill myself in a public theater.
Just remember, you requested this.
Again, I really do have to say this. I'm not saying I brought this on myself. I'm just saying I got ahead of the curve. You were going to do this anyway. I just knew it was coming before you did while you were still in denial.
Okay. You begged me. That's my recollection.
I did not beg you. Anyway, thank you to everyone who's been listening to our shows here. I occasionally look up the statistics for our shows, and you know what? We're not doing great, but we're doing okay. So thank you to everyone who listened to our review of The Lion King from last week. If you would like to listen to that, if you have not heard it yet, go back, give it a listen. We have some fun with that.
Yes,
Spoiler alert. We all thought it sucked.
Remember to check us out on Podcoin, Podcoin. Don't use your regular podcast app. No one's paying you to listen to podcasts then. If you have suffered through this one, why not get paid for your efforts? Podcoin, everybody. We're there. Your favorite podcasts are there. We're all there. Let's all embrace being paid for our efforts. Podcoin. Podcoin. You can subscribe to us there and get all the latest Radulich and broadcasting shows.
Yeah, you can also find me, they mentioned it earlier, judging the 4 different volumes from the DC Hanna-Barbera Volume 3 set collection. I got to have fun pointing out how stupid so much of it was. We all had a good time with that show. You can also find everyone here and a few other people doing the reactions to the Comic-Con trailers from a few weeks ago. I was in a guest spot on the Metal Hammer of Doom previous week for Sabaton the Great War. So if you're into the Metal Hammer of Doom, you can hear me there dropping a bit of military history knowledge on Mark and Jesse while they complain that, I exist. I'm kidding. That's not what they're complaining about. Mark on occasion, but not Jesse. Jesse's a happy person. And yeah, next week we'll be back here to review Hobbs and Shaw. And if you're also interested in MMA, you can find the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast Sundays over on the 411 Podcasting Network.
Currently not on Podcoin.
I don't know that for sure, but if you say so, I will take your word for it.
I keep looking. You're not there.
Fine. Find us other places you get podcasts. Be that Transistor, YouTube, Apple Music, since they're not iTunes anymore, Google Play, however you come to us. I don't care that much. I care that you consume the content. The specifics of how you get there are your own personal journey, and I both applaud you for it and really don't care that much. Any more than anyone else cares how I find their stuff. There's not enough apathy in the world. There really isn't.
All right, everybody, after that wonderful outro.
You keep going to me last.
Thank you for checking out our review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. For Alexis Hejna from Honeysuckle Rose Creations and Robert Winfree from the deepest, darkest recesses of your mind. For Mark Radulich, who struggles with the English language, be well, be safe, and behave.